fellow Slivers across the multiverse. Welcome back to your one and only trustworthy Hive. First, Ikoria introduced us to Serrated Scorpion. If you remember, I mentioned this card on my best new Ikoria cards for PAUPER video. I even told a lot of my friends it would probably see play in Standard. They laughed at me. Now the Scorpion is a fucking staple for Kitty Cat Oven decks, Bastion of Remembrance decks, and Mono Black Devotion decks in Standard right now, all of which survive rotation. Yeah, the Scorpion is good, and it's here to stay. Then Core Set 21 came along, and it brought us Village Rites, an absolutely absurd and stupid spell that, surprise surprise, has also become a staple for Kitty Cat Oven, Bastion of Remembrance, and Mono Black decks in Standard. Village Rites will also survive rotation, so yeah, get used to it. When I thought Black could not get more ridiculous, Double Masters really pushed the Death O-meter to 11. First, by finally reprinting Oubliette, a previously $40 card that, if you had access to, you would always play in PAUPER Mono Black decks. It exiles, it adds 2 black symbols for devotion, it's fucking cool as hell. But like I said, Oubliette was a scarce, really old card, so it was also expensive. Not everyone had easy access to it. Now, with this reprint, more people will be able to get their copies of this now infamous black enchantment. But wait, there's more. Bone Picker got reprinted as a common. That's a very easy 1-mana Death Touch flying 3/2 in this deck. And last but not least, Double Masters has also reprinted Cast Down as a common. That's right, Cast Down, a 2-mana instant speed with an irrelevant condition that does not apply to PAUPER removal spell is now available in black. Mono Black Devotion has been one of my favorite decks of all time in multiple formats, and in PAUPER it is my favorite deck. So, it was just inevitable that I would update my list by including all of these new cool and powerful cards. And now, I'm going to share it with you all, my Hive. The key element of this deck is still our beloved Gary, Grey Merchant of Asphodel, as it is almost always the case for any version of Mono Black Devotion in any format. I always like running the full 4 copies because, otherwise, well, what's the point? Is it really a Mono Black Devotion deck if you don't play 4 copies of the best Mono Black Devotion payoff there is? I just don't think so. Gary is love. Gary is life drain. Gary is your best friend, okay? Just play the 4 damn copies. We also run 4 copies of Serrated Scorpion, because like I've already said, look how good this little guy is. 1 mana, similar stats to previously rare Savannah Lion, gets along with Gary, gets along with Village Rites, which we will discuss in a moment, it attacks, it chomps, it drains. If the Oven was a common, you can bet we would run the feline best friend of the Scorpion, but don't worry, this Scorpion has some good company in this deck too. Kumbhaja Witches has been a staple in PAUPER Mono Black Devotion decks for years. Not only does it add 2 symbols to our devotion count, but the ping ability is just insane, and it just offers so many lines of play, so much flexibility, so many choices for sequencing. Yeah, the witches are good. I also like running 3 copies of Dusk Legion Zealot because it offers a body which also cantrips for the small price of 1 life. It will then serve as an attacker, a chump blocker, fodder for Village Rites, or as an extra symbol of Black Devotion for Gary. It will all depend on the situation, but that's still a bunch of different options contained in just 1 card. In our 3-drop slot for creatures, we play 3 copies of Whisper Agent. This guy has flash, it adds 2 symbols for devotion, it has a very decent body, and it surveils 1 when it enters the battlefield. This dude would have been a fucking mythic rare 10 or 15 years ago. I like playing 2 copies of Thorn of the Black Rose, which brings the Monarch mechanic to Mono Black Devotion, and as you probably already know, being the Monarch is awesome, as it will make you draw an extra card at the end of your turn. Plus, this human assassin has Death Touch, and it packs a similar thick enough body just like the witches, so your opponents will have to think twice before trying to steal the monarchy from you. And the final creature is obviously Bone Picker, which I play 2 copies of. You could play the full 4, but even if it's fairly easy to make it cost 1 mana in this deck, I think 2 or 3 copies maximum is the sweet spot. Now let's move on to the removal package, because you can't have Mono Black without death and sacrifices everywhere, right? I like playing 2 copies of Geth's Verdict, which adds a little bit more to our Life Drain South theme, and it can take down obnoxious hexproof creatures. And of course, we are now going to run 4 copies of Cast Down. Why wouldn't we run 4 copies of Cast Down? I used to play Defile, Disfigure, Ghastly Demise, Chainer's Edict, and while many of these cards still have a place in the sideboard, Cast Down is just better. The condition is totally irrelevant in Pauper. It destroys anything, period. No matter how big or small, no matter what you have or don't have in your graveyard, no matter if the creature is green or black or white or an artifact. It will just die. And of course, running 2 copies of Oubliette is now easier than ever, so, do it. Not as fast and efficient as Cast Down, Oubliette's strength comes from the fact that it is removal that exiles, and as a permanent, it adds Devotion. The last part of the deck is made of our Black Metal, Satanic Ritual, Exchange Life for power cards. I've always run 2 copies of Read the Bones. 2 life and 3 mana is a small price for basically looking at the top 4 cards of your library if you want to. If you like the top 2, well, then just take those, and it's still a pretty good deal. And now, of course, I run 4 copies of Village Rites. Oh my Dark Lord, this card is all kinds of stupid. Sack the Scorpion, drain 2, draw 2. Sack the Zealot, now you have drawn 3 cards for 3 mana. The witches are about to die, ping 1 last time and then draw 2. One big problem Mono Black has always had is the fact that if you don't find Gary, all the smaller creatures are probably not going to be good enough to close up the game on their own. Well, now you can offer these little creatures to the devil and keep digging for those Garys. The mana base is pretty simple. 1 copy of Witch's Cottage to reuse a dead Gary or any other creature you might want to bring back from the dead. 1 copy of Bojuka Bog for those obnoxious graveyard-based strategies. 1 copy of Barren Moor because, well, worst case scenario it's a land, best case scenario you draw it on the late game when you have enough mana, and so you cycle it away to try to find action. And 21 swamps, as simple as that. The sideboard, as usual, is up to you and it will depend on the metagame you might be expecting at your local game store, or on MTG Online, or on that quarantine Pauper tournament night you organized with your friends. The usual suspects are cards like Duress or Divest, Defile or Grasp in case opponents try to get all fancy with indestructible creatures, Morgeth's Verdict or Chainer's Edict for fucking horrendous Boggle decks, things like Moment of Craving, Tendrils of Corruption or even Corrupt against Mono Red and aggro decks, Crypt Rats, Shrivel, Nausea or Evinkar's Justice in case you need board wipes, Tormod's Crypt, Relic of Progenitus or Nihil Spellbomb for graveyard hate, etc, etc, etc. And that's it, my fellow Slivers. Pauper Mono Black Devotion, now with extra sacrifice, satanic rituals, death, scorpions, life drain, fucking insane removal, draw, exile and easy devotion for Gary. What do you think of these new cards available to black players everywhere? Are you excited to try them out? Would you build this list in a different way? As usual, I want to read your opinions on the comments below. If you would like to see more content from Papa Sliver with the sunglasses, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, leave your thumbs up, and click on the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Remember, that's the best way in which you can support your hive. Take care, my fellow Slivers. We'll gather again on the next video.